So today I want to talk to you guys about one of the biggest mistakes that I see when it comes to mapping your processes. And I want to talk to you about it so that before you even come back and show me, or as you're going through the exercise in the course, that you are making sure that you are covering it and looking into this piece. 'Cause this is something that I see on a regular basis. So as you're walking through your processes, it is important for you to make sure that you are looking through the right lens or all the lenses that need to be reviewed, right? So a lot of times what's happening is you all are looking at a process from what you need. I am looking to have, a request comes in, I need to be able to do this, and this. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. However, you're missing a step or two of looking at it from a different lens. You need this, but what does your client need? You need this, but what information needs to be sent back to your client? So I'm going to use the example of, let's say you're setting up a ticketing system. So with your support, someone has an issue, they purchased your product or are interested in your product. So they're reaching out to you. Let's use the purchase example. So I've purchased your product, right? And maybe it takes, maybe they're going to get an email, maybe they're going like what happens after I purchase your product? Am I getting the product immediately? Am I getting an email link to take me to the product? Is the product being mailed to me? Like what is happening? Because as a person coming in to give you money, let's use the electronic world because physical world is a little bit different. But I log on, I'm online and I'm purchasing your product and I put my information into that site, right? There's a couple of things I'm going to need to know. Number one, to encourage me to make the purchase. Number two, after I make the purchase. And so are you looking at it from my side of the coin? Are you looking at it saying, okay, as a person making a purchase, what do I look for on the website to make me feel comfortable to put my credit card information on this site? That's one. What am I getting in return to let me know that the order went through? That's number two. What am I looking for in order to know when to expect the product, right? That's number three. So that could be a receipt, that could be an email, that could be an on-screen notification. There's a lot of ways to handle or to address these things, but you have to think through it and you have to think through it through the lens of your client, right? So let me speak to that for really quickly. So a lot of times you will hear in the online and marketing world that you need to know who your target market is. You hear find your target market, your ideal client. You'll hear it called a number of different things, but ultimately what it's saying is what people are saying is you need to know who your customer is, right? And you need to niche down. That's another thing that you'll hear. You'll hear identify your ideal client, and you'll also hear you need to niche down. You're too broad. You're trying to reach too many people. And here's why this is important from a process perspective. So as I am defining processes in my business versus helping somebody else define processes in theirs, they may be doing some similar things, but they are different. And the reason they're different is because my client has a specific need that your client may not have, right? So I'm going to use myself as the example. When I set up the hours in my business, when I set up how I deliver content, things that I am sharing with my clients is all based off of who my client is. So when you look at my business hours, for example, number one, my clients all know that I'm a side hustler as well. So they're not expecting me to have a lot of 8 to 5 hours available for them. I have spot for my key clients. But other than that, most of my hours are available after hours during the week and on the weekends. It's just understood. If I'm going to do a training, more than likely it's going to be after hours, right? Be that somewhere after 4 o'clock. If I do something in the middle of the day, it's going to be something short and it's going to be around a lunchtime. All of my clients know this. It is set up strategically because my clients are side hustlers as well. And so because a lot of times trainings and things like that are only done during business hours, it's very difficult for side hustlers to be able to jump in and take that training because they're in the middle of work. So it was a strategic thing that I did not only for myself, but I also looked at what do my clients need. So another example of that is that I know that my clients are extremely busy. They are struggling to find time to do the things that they need to do. So how do I need to deliver my content? What is the process that I'm using to connect with my clients and to allow them to connect with me. The difference of my process versus someone else's who maybe their clientele is not the side hustler. Maybe their clientele is only going to have weekends, right? Or like maybe they're getting their hair done, or I don't know. You fill in the blanks here, right? But maybe somebody else's client needs to have a little bit more real-time responses or have the availability of online live situations where they're teaching and doing things in a live environment, and maybe you're taking time off from work to deliver that during the 8 to 5 time frame. I'm not telling you what your process should be. What I'm saying is that you need to think about your ideal client. You need to think about what you need, what your ideal client needs, and do your processes align with that? And make sure that as you're defining those processes, that you're looking through the right lens. So make sure it's not all one-sided, that you are saying, okay, today my lens is the customer. As a customer, let me walk through this process and make sure it makes sense for me or for my customer. Look through it through your lens as the owner, as the business owner doing the work. Look at it from the lens of the business owner who's doing the books, doing the back office. What are some things that you need to find? So from that lens, you're looking for your key performance indicators. You're looking for return on investment. You're looking for how can I do the analytics? What are the things that I need to know that this is successful? And so that lens, right? You put on a different hat. You put on the accountant hat, you put on the business owner hat, and you're looking at it from that lens. What information and details do I need from this thing, this process, to ensure that I know that it is successful? So these are just a couple of things to think about as you're going through the mapping exercises. If you are new and this is the first video you've seen from me, I do have a mapping course that you can take that can walk you through all of the steps to helping you define your processes properly and map them out so that you can identify your gaps in the bloat that you have within your overall business processes. Now, I want to speak very briefly about how to apply this in your physical life as well, because even though I was focused in on business, this also applies to your physical life. Women, we do this all the time. We will go through our space, and I want to focus on your home. This applies to any physical space, be it a brick and mortar store or anything like that. But focusing in on your home environment, a lot of times what happens is we set up every process in our home for us, how we do it, how we need it. And then we complain that our family is not helping, that they're not pitching in, that, can't you do it? Why do I have to do it? The problem is that we have defined this process for our use case and for our needs. We have not really looked at, is that how everybody else does it? And we have not actually explained what that process is to those that need to use it. So in my household, I will use the example of, I talk to my husband. He is the main cook in our family. I cook, but when you look at the percentage, he cooks the most. Then my daughter has now started her baking process. And so she's taken over all the baking. So we all use the kitchen. So when I originally set up the kitchen, I really wanted his input as far as where things should go, how I should set things up. Most people go into the kitchen as women and we set the kitchen up for how we think it should be set up. But that's not the right way to do it, especially if your percentages are off. Who is the primary person? Whoever the primary person is should have the largest say, or at least have an equal amount of say as far as where things are going in the environment, because they're the ones who are going to be walking through it. So my husband, he just was like, I don't really care where you put it as long as I know where it is. So I just knew, okay, he's fine with me setting it up my way, but I still needed to take that step back and say, I know how he cooks. I know what he typically uses. So let me set the kitchen up in a way that I think will be most beneficial for him. And then I can adapt, right? I can make some adaptations, but what that allows him to do is just be able to have a better ease in the kitchen. And truthfully, in our kitchen, there's very few things that you could put here versus there, right? Like everything seemed to have the right place, and it's just general kitchen rules, right? So you put the everyday dishes near the dishwasher, you put the glasses near the dishwasher. So then that way, as you're unloading the dishwasher, you're able to just put them right up without doing a whole lot of going across the kitchen and back. So there's some tips and tricks in setting up a specific space that you follow the rules of the space, but even with that, there are some nuances that are defined based off of what people need who are working in the space. So just be cognizant of that, and make sure that you're not setting it up for your reality when you're not the main focus of that environment. Remember, look through the right lens as you're setting up your processes, and I think you'll be perfectly fine. So I hope you found this helpful, and until the next time, I'll talk to you. Bye. Have a great one.